Okay, starting your week 7 prep, what you're going to do is on your chart, you're going to go to the miscellaneous category, and you're going to do that first before you move back up to your ankle, hip, and T-spine mobility. So you're going to start down there with a hamstring. I've got 2 options for you. Preferably if you have enough power bands or jump ropes or ropes or anything like that, you'll want to go with this hamstring movement, in which it's a 3-way hamstring with a 4th movement being a dynamic movement. 3-way static, and what I want to do here is I want to squeeze this right quad to keep that knee in the ground, and so I don't compensate at all. So I keep all the stretch on the hamstring, toe to your forehead. Come back here, back stays in its normal posture, and I'll bring it inside, making sure the right leg stays straight, quad stays on, back the knee in the ground, and I'll bring it in, and I'll bring it out, again focusing on keeping this still, not compensating through here. These are all about 10-second holds. Then I'm going to go dynamic down the middle, trying to keep everything quiet in terms of my right leg and my lumbar. So if you can do that, if you have enough of these, that's going to be your most productive option. If you don't, you can go to a standing hamstring. And for that, understand your hamstring attached to your pelvis. And so we want to rotate the pelvis around a fixed leg. So what I'll do here, down foot straight, right leg, I want to get it elevated as much as I can. I'm going to turn that foot in, so I'm rotating the femur in, and it's like I got a broomstick through my hips, which I'm going to turn against that fixed femur. So it's rotation through the hips, the pelvis, not turning up top. So I'm here, turn against it, and you should feel that really stretch the attachment of the hamstring. Again, best option, next best option. Moving on the ankle, you're going to see that as I work through some stuff here, I'm going to go back to stuff you've done before, and the goal here is obviously to get more range of motion as we come back through some of these mobility drills for a second time, and hopefully we've seen some gains. Multiplanar wall mob, of course, is where you go to a wall, and hopefully, the first time, if you're 2 inches away, now you're 3 or 4 inches away, with the heel down, you're moving down the middle, the outside, and the inside off both ankles. Move on to the hip. Now what we're going to do here is start employing a driver, which is just a weight. The older guys ideally are probably taking about a 10-pound plate. Younger guys may have to resort to like a 5-pound plate or even a med ball work. Anything that they can load here, add a little bit of intensity to the movement pattern as we work through it. So the single leg deadlift driver, we use the deadlift pattern that we've already trained. You just simply add a driver to it. All the same fundamentals. Just pulling through the top. There's my hip mobility, glute activity through, just adding with this. As you move down to the, that stands for multiplanar raise and press, driver lunge. So on the linear path like we've done without a driver, we're raising. On a lateral or diagonal path, or pressing, just with a driver, so it looked like this. Here's a linear left, big raise up top. There's my shoulder and thoracic movement. There's my lateral press, weight stays back, chest stays forward. Here's my rotational or diagonal with the press. So that's how I use the driver for that. Hip rotation, standing internal rotational step. This one's very basic. I'm going to keep the foot on the line here. I'm going to turn my hips hard against that leg right there. If this foot turns, I lose that rotational mobility. I want to, it's like, so if I'm swinging at the plate, I'm going to get that rotational movement there. If I'm throwing a baseball, I'm going to get that rotational movement over the hip. So we're working on that right here. Don't sweep the leg, turn the hips against it and back. Turn it against it. Some guys may only get to here, other guys should be able to get even more rotational range of motion. Right-handed pitchers, you should notice you have less range of motion on the left hip than you would if you're going to the right side, opposite obviously for left-handed pitchers. Next one for the thoracic spine, a sideline external rotation. So this one is definitely not a taxing one. It may even be comfortable, but it's just trying to work on opening up the upper body here. So I'm going to take this position, just rest. If you don't have one of these, no big deal. I'm going to take this down arm, put it up here. I'm going to come through, and I'm back. Through, down towards that knee, and I'm back, almost to like a throwing position. And again, I'm just constantly working on opening up the thoracic spine and the external rotation of the shoulder. And of course, that flip it on the other side to get the equal reps. Next, as you move on to upper, you see wrist extension flexion, and the crab walk. We've done this before, continuing to promote good extension through the elbow, which will shorten up through a lot of throwing. So we're here on both sides doing just that. Shoulder blade set down and back. The crab walk, so what we're doing here is we're opening up, again, promoting good posture, good scapular positioning. There's going to be some glute core activity here as well. You can do a forward crab walk, a backward crab walk. This is old elementary school action here, but just to understand how it applies to what we want to do. So I'm going to be here. But there's a supine plank with the hips up, glute on, core on, and then I'm just moving forward. I can move forward for 10 yards, and I can move back for 10 yards, but look what that does to posture there. For guys that are constantly here, it really opens them up and helps that out. Moving on to activation, a prone lower trap. So I'm going to be facing down, my palms in this position. You'll see me raise up here, just really activate that lower trapezius, which supports my scapula. So I'm going to be here and down the ground, and then I'll go, I'm up and I'm squeezing back, and I'm down. Up into a good posture position, and back down. I'll rep that out for whatever count you're comfortable with, 5-8 times on that. For the movement-based prep in week 7, you have a linear crossover skip to a go. So for that, it's going to be this type of action in a skip. So it would look like this. From here to a go, and obviously repeat that a couple times. Your med ball, I'm going to increase volume on your med ball, at least the movements I'm giving you. I know that you're supplementing with some of your own. Your overhead movement is going to be a split stance catapult with a stand up, which is a progression from what you've done before, and just to maintain that half kneeling stance, and then a step back recoil shot put, much like we did a step back hip toss. So the stand up off the split stance half kneeling, you're going to take that same half kneeling stance, create elastic movement up top. The only thing different is that when you finish, you'll be in basically like a deadlift position, firm on the front side as you finish through. So it'll look like this. I'm here, I'm back, and I whip through, and there's my finish. So with a med ball, it's going to look like this. And remember, at the top, I want to create thoracic extension and that quick whip up top, so I store and release that elastic energy. So I'm here, and here's my finish against that front side. Now, the step back recoil shot put. Remember, I'm wanting to create some elastic movement here as I load the hip and I get off it aggressively. We did the hip toss, now we do the recoil. To remind you, with the recoil, we're going to sit up here high. We're going to finish with the thumb kind of coming under and pronating the forearm and wrist. So I'm here, I'm set here, and this would be, if you're able to do these consecutively, maybe 5 on the dominant side, 5 on the weak side. So as I load here, I want to create a good elastic transfer here and really use that force that I'm putting in the ground to redirect it. So I'd be here. Remember, this is the recoil shot put is more like throwing a baseball, whereas the hip toss is probably more like hitting a baseball, just in terms of what you're doing with your body. So I'd be here, and through like that on each of my reps. All right.